Hey there, Cancer, and welcome to your January 2020 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for artists, entrepreneurs, and anybody who is working on their self-expression or their spiritual growth in any form. So if that area of life is interesting to you, I encourage you to go ahead and keep listening. You can use this reading for your sun, moon, or your rising sign. It's normal sometimes if none of them resonate, especially at the beginning of the month, because we are looking at the energies of the upcoming time period. So a lot of times what I hear from people is that it didn't make sense when they heard it at the beginning of the month, but then when they get back to the video at the end of the month, or they'll remember something and go back and check it, and it tends to make a lot more thematic sense with what you have going on. So keep that in mind, and also know that these are just general readings and the energy is going to manifest specific to you and your life journey. Okay, so for you, Cancer, I had several things coming through during the meditation that I want to talk about. First of all, I was feeling that this month marks some kind of really personal new beginning in your life. And the way that I was being shown that is actually that when I was connecting to your energy, my main guide who helps me with my readings was showing me almost like these forms on which someone was able to legally change their name. So this is obviously a very specific message for someone out there. If you're literally changing your name, that could be, what this is about. But I also feel that this is coming through in a metaphorical sense. It's not that you yourself are taking on like a new identity within yourself. I feel like it's more like another aspect of you is coming forward that you're embracing. And I also feel that the way that others address you is going to change. So almost like the titles that you hold in your life, Cancer, whether that may be a title in relation to your career, you could be getting a promotion or changing departments, and that's going to come with a different role and hence a different title for that role that you fulfill. It could also be literally that you are changing the name of your business. If you're an entrepreneur, you might be realizing that you want to go with something that's a little bit more broadly appealing to all of your skills and talents. If you're, engaged in a lot of different passions, then you might be changing the name of your business to kind of reflect that, to give yourself a little bit more flexibility and space within the spectrum of services that you offer. So there's definitely a sense of potentially like rebranding going on if you're a business owner, or it could even be just in your personal life, Cancer, that you're like embracing this idea of kind of titling yourself in a different way. So very interesting energy. The other thing that I kept feeling was just a lot of passion, interestingly, and I feel like as you go into 2020, there's a deep sense of, like, I want to say, kind of stepping into what I could almost call the stream of life, or like the stream of feeling. I feel like you're going into 2020 really wanting to have a personal relationship with your life and wanting to have more of an emotional investment in the elements of your life. So the people that you spend time with, the efforts that you put out, the contributions that you make, the relationships that you nourish. I think there's something about this month and also, this beginning period as we move into a new year and a new decade that feels like you're almost opening up to more intimacy and a deeper feeling connection with things in your life, which, it's hard to even say that to a Cancer, right? Because you guys feel things so deeply already, but there could have been something that you had walls up about, or that you maybe didn't even realize that you did. But at this time, you're kind of stepping into having a more feeling-based or sensation-based relationship with your life in general. And that's manifesting, causing you to feel a lot more passionate and a lot more enthusiastic about what you're experiencing, the things you're doing, and of course, the direction that you're moving yourself in. So let's go ahead and take a look at your tarot cards, and we'll get some more information. Cancer. Okay. Okay, beautiful. And we're also going to get your animal spirit guide messages. Oh, we have lizard and turtle. Interesting to get the turtle as kind of the influence or the lesson card, and then have your path card as a lizard. I feel like there's already so many connections between these creatures in terms of just the type of biological creature that they are, and how they move through life, though they are quite different as well. Okay, so here's what I'm getting, Cancer, and this is going to be particularly relevant, I think, for those of you Cancers who make a practice of regularly kind of working with your creativity, I'll say, and working with kind of your own inspirations, and really wanting to see your, I guess, what you find inspiring, like reflected in your environment, but also in your life. So that if somebody was kind of just looking in on your life, like if some person just had like a window into your life and could just see kind of the whole general spectrum of experiences that you have on a regular basis, that they would get like what's inside of you. You know, it's like this sense of like really wanting to have a deeply authentic experience of your life, so that kind of what you are going through internally is reflected in everything else that you have, you know, around you, in your physical environment, in your home. So the things in your home reflect what brings joy for you at this time. The decorations and all of that really match up and are cohesive with what inspires you and moves you internally. But also just that, like, the things that you put energy into, or like the creative projects that you're working on, just hold this powerful flavor of your unique voice, Cancer. And that's really what I get with the lizard card, because the lizard, you can see, is kind of this delicate, sensitive creature that's very sensitive to temperature changes in its environment. It's very sensitive to movement. You know, if you ever watch a lizard, they are always kind of paying attention to subtle sounds, subtle visual cues. They're constantly sort of paying very attention, you know, a lot of attention to their environment. And at the same time, in this card, you can see that the environment around the lizard is kind of painted the same almost color and scale pattern as we see on the lizard itself. So there's a sense of like really embracing almost your sensitivities, Cancer, and instead of fighting them or kind of suppressing them, it's like just doing whatever you can to I guess the word I'm looking for is maybe like assuage them or soothe them. So for example, if you're somebody that is very sensitive to like noise, I know that that's something for me. I'm fairly clairaudient, and when I have a lot of cacophonous noise going on around me, like it really gets to me. And I do my own personal work on kind of staying clear of that, or not letting that get at me too much. But I feel like there's this energy here of like knowing what you know about your own sensitivities and your own desires and your own preferences. What can you do, you know, as we enter this new decade? What can you do to actively engage with those preferences and maybe those sensitivities, and create an environment that is supportive to them, rather than just kind of being hard on yourself and thinking, oh, I just shouldn't, you know, let that bother me or whatever. It's like, no, there's a real sense of creating your own space and making it okay to have that space for yourself. And that's also kind of what I see with the turtle as the influence. So one thing about the turtle is that it kind of carries its house around with it, if you will, because it's in the shell, and it can retreat into the shell whenever it wants to, which is very similar to the Cancerian archetype of the crab, you know, being able to withdraw into itself. There's a sense with the lizard as your path right now is really about kind of creating that homey space within and outside of yourself, whatever that means for you right now, Cancer. And then recognizing that you're actually going to be able to draw strength from that, and you're going to be able to move forward and bring that kind of cozy or homey environment that you're generating for yourself. You're going to be able to bring that into new experiences, because the turtle is swimming. So to me, it seems like it's kind of swimming with the current, but it's going somewhere new. So I see this sense of like finding comfort and peace within yourself leads to you being able to go to new places or to do things that you haven't done before. It kind of gives you the strength and the comfort to do that. So those are kind of some of the first messages that I'm getting. Oh my gosh, we have the Chariot. I was just thinking about the Chariot actually, because this card is associated with the sign of Cancer. So I'm not surprised that it came up, but it's also it has so many of the same connotations as what I was just describing with the turtle, because this guy is wearing armor, right? Like this charioteer, he's wearing armor, so he's suited up, he's inside his chariot, so he's protected on multiple levels, but then he's kind of going out into the world with that protection, and that's just the same energy as the turtle, you know? Like it might be a little more natural for the turtle because the shell is a part of itself, but there's very much this sense of like suiting up, prepping yourself, feeling prepared, feeling safe, feeling confident that you have anchored into your own energy system and your own kind of center, like I call that, like working from center. You're working from center, and then so you're able to kind of go beyond your normal environment. See, this guy is driving his chariot away from the city in the background. So some change or movement possibly for many of you Cancers out there. We've also got King of Swords, Page of Cups in the Tower. Wow. We have the Eight of Wands, the Hermit, and the Four of Wands, and the Eight of Swords. Interesting. So I'm picking up with this Chariot and the King of Swords energy. The Chariot is very much you, Cancer, and the King of Swords feels to me almost like it could be the influence of something outside of you, that it could be a person, or it could be the expectations that you have of your own self within a particular situation in your life. But there's definitely some very like firm expectations here that I'm getting from this King of Swords person, or this King of Swords energy. If it's a person, it could be like, you know, a father figure, or, you know, the thoughts that you have about what a father figure in your life would say to you about the situation that you're in. It could also be a manager or someone of influence, like a person of influence, maybe an air sign, or just somebody who's very rational and kind of hard-nosed about how they view things. There can be a lot of good sides to this person, but they can also be a little bit overbearing, a little bit too harsh of a disciplinarian maybe as well. But there's something here about, like, I feel a little bit of a clash between these energies. I wouldn't necessarily always see it that way, but I almost feel like there's this energy of the King of Swords, which represents in some way, shape, or form the expectations that you have on you placed from an outside situation, or the expectations that you have of yourself. And then there's this like heart-centered, you know, very Cancerian element of you that's like, I'm ready to embrace a more feeling-oriented relationship with my life, which is actually going to empower me to like go to new places, which isn't always what the rational part of our brain wants us to do, right? Like I feel like the left brain tends to be a little bit more fear-based or just thinking about what could go wrong. And it's good to listen to that voice, but we don't always want that voice to be the only voice, or we don't want that voice to be the only driver directing our destiny. And that doesn't seem to be what you're trying to do either, Cancer, because you're showing up as the charioteer here. So there could be like a power struggle between you and someone in your outer life if this dynamic is playing out like on the external, but it could also be like you kind of experiencing this as an inner struggle and really being like, okay, where is the authority, like where is the seat of authority in my life? And if it's not solidly, you know, within you and your own kind of faculties of reason, but also your instinct and your intuition, then you're going to probably be making some changes, especially by this big surprise, lunar eclipse in your sign. It's at 20 degrees of Cancer. So if you have anything around 20 degrees of Cancer, particularly strong energy for you. But this is a lunar eclipse happening on January 10th. And for that day, the cards that you have, and for the week that eclipse takes place in, the week of January 10th, the Page of Cups and the Tower are coming up. So I'm not going to say that the Tower is good or bad because I don't label the cards that way, but there are kind of like transformations that we would welcome and that we are looking for, and then there's transformations that when they start, we like kind of subjectively experience them as either fear-inducing or negative, at least in the very, very beginning stages of it. But once we kind of move through the process, we start to understand the meaning of it. And so our perspective usually changes, right, over time. But the Tower can represent upsets, like very real upsets in our life. And because this eclipse is happening in your sign, this could be very prominent for you. It's happening, you know, in your first house symbolically. So this is changes to kind of with the first house, it's how you present yourself to the world, which is so interesting. As I'm saying this, I'm recalling what came through in the meditation, which was all about someone changing their name, like legally changing their name, or changing their business name, or doing something almost legal that changed their title in some way, or changed the role that they felt they were playing in life. And so we see that here, but it's with the Page of Cups, which is a new beginning. The Page of Cups is a birth card. It can be a rebirth card. It's a card of like a tender new beginning when it comes to your heart and your emotions and your relationships, and also your personal spiritual beliefs as well. So we have this very kind of open, vulnerable, authentic, psychic, very sweet energy next to this really powerful transformation happening. And what does that mean for you, Cancer? Well, to put this in as practical of terms as I can, it feels to me that around this eclipse happening in your sign on January 10th, it could be, you know, within a few days after, because we also have the Saturn-Pluto conjunction taking place a couple of days after, which is like, wow. But basically, you could experience, I mean, this could be somebody falling in love, you know, it could be like that really quick, powerful, oh my gosh, I'm in love now, all of a sudden, or maybe it builds up and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this person, or I'm in love with this project, or I'm in love with, you know, this technique or this business, or it's like this kind of powerful transformation, and maybe even a tearing down of something that wasn't working, to make space for more of this deep authenticity to come through. So walls are coming down, Cancer, but don't worry, don't be scared about that. You might find it jolting or unsettling, but with the Page of Cups, this is a very encouraging card to have coming up next to the Tower, because it's almost like, yes, there could be a storm, or there could be something that's being torn apart, but at the same time, there's this really tender new beginning that's happening, or it's making space for something peaceful and loving to come through. So because this is occurring, this eclipse is occurring in your first and seventh house it's across the 1st and 7th house axis. This could have to do with relationships, especially because you also have the Page of Cups coming up here. So there could be major changes in relationship, major changes in who you want to spend your time with. Or I'm also now kind of connecting these dots and thinking, if you have people in your life who just chronically want to define you in a particular way that's not so encompassing of your good traits or the things that you are putting effort into and the things that you're working on, maybe you're realizing that there are other people out there who are willing to build something new with you, like build something new where, because I'm drawing on this theme of changing your name, right? Like that's, in some way, that is a change in how other people see you, because there's significance in a name, So this is also, I think, about being around people that see like you for, or who are better at seeing you for your divinity, or who are better at seeing the fullness of you. Whereas if you have maybe more toxic relationships from your past where people are, they kind of like to remind you of shortcomings that you have or things that you are not good at, or they like to remind you of things that just that you have failed at in the past or something, then maybe it is time to kind of let those walls come down, or let those structures fall apart, so that you can make new relationships with people where you have a clean slate. Because I think that you've grown a lot, Cancer, and I feel like this is a really important time for you to kind of embrace that. And that is kind of what we see with the 8 of Wands aiming right at the Hermit in the 3rd week of January. That's going to be a great week for you to take advantage of some solitude. So I don't know if you have anything planned for that week, Cancer, but if you do have social engagements planned, just be warned, they might get canceled, or you might cancel them, because I think that the flow is very much taking you into this like hermetic standpoint where you can really find that wisdom and that comfort within yourself and really enjoy solitude, enjoy that nourishing kind of ability to just spend an evening with yourself doing crafts that you enjoy, or even just, watching a movie or reading a book, just doing things that you love and prioritizing that. I see that as being like something that's kind of going to come naturally to you in the 3rd week of January. So keep that in mind. Now, what I'm getting at the end of the month is the 4 of Wands and the 8 of Swords. So when I first looked at this, the theme that was coming through was sort of about like the sensation of being in a good place. With the 4 of Wands, you're in a good place, but for some reason, the way that you think about your situation makes it seem worse than it is. But paradoxically, at the same time, there could be some of you that feel like you're kind of in a beautiful prison in a way. And that's like a really strong word, but I think it's just like the best, easiest way for me to describe it. So just bear with me here. But there's this kind of like twofold, almost kind of Zen way that I'm seeing these cards, where on the one hand, it's true that you're more blessed than you allow yourself to recognize and feel on a regular basis. Because if you're watching this, it means that you're incredibly blessed. Like, you have access to the internet, you are probably not going hungry, you have so much to be grateful for. And at the same time, there's something about your life situation that genuinely may be like holding you back in some way, because what you have is good enough, or it's good, it's pleasant, but internally you know that you need something else, or that you're feeling stuck in a situation that has stability for sure with the Four of Wands, but you feel trapped in that. So it's like being in a beautiful cage, you know? And I'm not saying that to discourage anybody, because I think that this is really about like bearing witness to these perspectives within yourself, and also recognizing the importance of gratitude in your life. But also with the Four of Wands, to me, it kind of shows that you're actually at a completion point, and many of you probably already know this. You can probably already feel the energy starting to shift, especially once we get through this lunar eclipse in your sign. You're probably going to be feeling really ready to move on to the next phase, and that's another meaning actually of the Four of Wands here, because the Four of Wands, it's a completion card, but it's in the middle of the numbered cards. So there's still more for you to experience, Cancer. Just because you have gotten comfortable with something in your life doesn't mean that you're not going to feel the urge to move on. Even if you just recently got comfortable with something, or even if you, have completed some leg of a journey and you're kind of wanting to coast for a while, there's something about this that feels very transformative. But with the Eight of Swords there, I think it's going to be a process of you kind of untying your own beliefs about whatever this situation is, and recognizing that if you feel stuck, that is an illusion. Okay? Really, like feeling stuck, feeling like you're in a rut, that may be valid. I'm not going to say that it's not valid. But with the Eight of Swords, there is some kind of illusion that you're buying into that's causing you to view your reality a little bit more like this than like this, okay? And we all go through periods of time where we can feel a little bit more held back by things, or we can feel like caught up in our mind, I guess, which is like the Eight of Swords. But I think that the end of the month is going to present you with opportunities to shift out of that. And when you do, I think you're going to experience the happier aspects of the Four of Wands, which is, again, we had that theme of home coming through with the lizard, and then taking your home with you wherever you go. And then the last card in this reading, or the last pair of cards, has like the home card in it. So there is a change in your home, Cancer. There is a change in either where you live or how you live in a major way. And I feel like that process is going to continue over the next few months. So you could be moving, some of you, or you could be almost kind of creating a vision for yourself of the place where you want to go, and really working through any beliefs that would cause you to struggle like along the path of getting there, or struggle in terms of making that happen in a physical sense. But I do see change, I do see a lot of change when it comes to your home life. And I think that this month is really about you kind of paying attention and processing the things that are like altering or changing course in terms of how you present yourself to the world as well, because of that message that came through in the meditation. I want to say it too, as I'm looking at these cards, that the word receiving is coming through really strongly with the Page of Cups and the Tower. Like, this could be about modifying like relationships and situations in your life where you're just not receiving in exchange for the energy that you're putting out. So really be open to receiving, like let Spirit know that you're open to receiving the joy that you are, putting out there that you want to experience. Like, you're willing to be in your life just the way that it is right now and feel more joyful on a regular basis, because that will make a huge difference. But also put it out there that you're ready to receive the benefit of the energy that you put out there. So just really make that a clear intention for yourself. And I think that this is going to be a very empowering month for you, with potentially some big changes. And you will probably feel like you're tackling some major long-term beliefs that you like heretofore have maybe been working on, but like have also had under the surface. Like that's definitely what I see with the Tower above the Eight of Swords. So thank you so much for listening, Cancer. I hope this reading has been helpful to you. Please let me know if you have any feedback in the comments. Thank you so much for being here on my channel. I absolutely love reading for you guys, and I hope that you are having an amazing start to your new year. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, or leave me a little heart emoji in the comments if you're watching to the end of this reading and you want to say thanks. I'm sending you so much love and gratitude. Mwah. I will talk to you next time, Cancer, and have a great rest of your month. Bye.